Okay, we are back. I don't know. I've been slack with uploads, so we're just gonna kind of do an unprofessional video, if you will. We are gonna be stitching a few decks together in this video, and we'll just kind of go over the process, a little bit of time lapse, maybe a voiceover, stuff like that. But basically, what we're gonna be doing, and I will pop into Paint real quick. Alright, so what we're looking at here, this is just deck 3 right here. So this one right here that we're seeing, that is going to be our deck 3. Now, what we have from this point down is basically a very complex network of all these basically vertical separations with the water type bulkheads, which run vertical through all of the decks here. And within all of those sections, we have stairs and ladders and hatches. And basically what I usually do is I build the whole deck like this, and then I just paste them together in the final build. But because these are so tightly knit together and they need to cohere really well, and I don't want to do that on the file with the whole build because it's going to be 3 FPS if I do it like that, we're going to kind of do it here and just make a third of the boat in one go, and then we can paste it in that way. So we are going to be doing deck 2 down here, and then also deck 1, but we're going to keep adding to deck 1 as well because it's not done yet. But that is the plan. We will see how well it goes. And there's a few challenges in the way here as well. So yeah, we'll just kind of jump in. Alright, so here we are in our file. This is deck 3. We haven't done a deck 3 tour because I've been really lazy. But we do have a few things to note. And you'll notice how uneven it is with like just a vertical line. We've got a bunch of stuff sticking down, sticking up as well. And then of course the whole bow is all screwed up. So we're going to go through here and we're just going to clean it up. And then hopefully we can just paste some things together. So I'm just going to time lapse this and enjoy. Okay, so what we have here is now one floor. So this is deck 2, and I made a really poor decision when building this deck, which of course I have learned from. Of course you learned from your mistakes, but most of my lights are, let's see if we can find a good, yeah, right here. Most of my lights are in this single floor ceiling block, which normally is fine. But when you're building at this scale and you're pasting new floors in, I'm going to paint over this floor and then have to replace it, and then all my lights are going to be gone. So what I'm going to do here, and I've already fixed it on the receiving side of the bottom of the deck above, but I'm basically just going to go grab the bottom of this selection and bring it up to where it is just one block thick. And now you can see we have all these beautiful little Swiss cheese holes all over the floor. And I'm simply just gonna cut this. And so what this is gonna do is delete all of these blocks except the lights. So once this completes, there it goes. You can see that we have all of that clean except for lights or pivots that were that raised block, which we want to be cautious of. And then I'm basically going to hover over with my new selection in. So you can see right here the tender pit is not detailed. But if we load and we go to my deck 3 ready to paste, now it's not fully ready yet, but we get an idea, and then we can see where the big issues are. And if you see, all the red should be avoiding most of those lights, and you can actually see, well, these are not a very good example. But like all of these ones now have their hole on both sides, and so those will not slot in nicely. These ones, oh yeah, I put blocks in there, so we're gonna have to fix that. But I'm just gonna basically go around this and clean up everything, so hopefully they can paste together nicely, and then we can, yeah, we can stick them together and then go down a deck to deck 1. So we're just gonna jump into a time lapse and yeah, hopefully knock this out. Let's see, so we will just start, what the hell, start at the front, you know, this should, Christ, this should be the worst, so this area should be nice and new. Yeah, and then we should be able to seamlessly start going down into rooms like this. Of course, this one we royally screwed up. I trust that everything on this floor is good. I know the floors need repainting. That's all confirmed. Just double checking that emergency exits line up. We can swing around this way, and then this is where the immersion starts to feel real for me, because I have never once seen this room with stairs going down, so this is exciting. We need a stair in there. We can come down. This is so fancy, guys. You don't even understand. Alright, this lines up. Yeah, we'll put a stair block in there. Yeah, see, all of these are cooked. But that's acceptable. And the floors are goners. Just repaint it all. We have another emergency exit down this side. Don't exactly know why we're tipping. That lines up. Sweet. So far, so about what I'd expect. We can come this way. Now this is stuff you guys haven't seen in video form yet, so I guess start taking notes. There we go. This looks so good. Okay. We'll start here. We can head downstairs. All of these seem to be still operating well. Then we can pop down these stairs. And of course, all of these still need their top stairs, so don't worry about that. These are all detailed, so you have seen these in a video before. These are all just crew cabins. And we will just pop back upstairs here. And this one is where it will definitely look unfinished. Certainly because we have the engine room. So if we kind of wedge ourselves through here, through this door, let's see, can we just bash it in? Maybe. No, alright, we're no clipping through. That's okay. So then we're in here. This has obviously been split in half, which is unfortunate. This looks good as well. And then this area, we get even worse because we removed the floor entirely. Huh, this is going swimmingly, that's for sure. I'll certainly do one final hope for the best at the very end, but this is one that I was worried about. That door, yeah, all these watertight doors need new pivots and controllers. But this area is room, looks good, that's good. We should, I was worried about the tender pit before. We can look in here. This one looks like it's doing well. Everything in here is in the right position. So far, pretty successful pace. You can see all the deck markings go all the way down. That's good, that's good. Yep, alright. So far, so acceptable. I am gonna see if I can't pull the floor out. I don't know how on earth I don't have the floor for this bow space, but we'll just kind of fix that up real quick and then move on. Okay, so I've gone ahead and fixed up the bow a little bit, and now we do still have this hole in the floor, but ideally, let me save this real quick and we will go to our deck 1. We should, keyword being should, have that. So if we go down to my deck 1 rework, hoping, yeah, see, there we go. Okay, so this has the floor and actually a few blocks up. So we will have to look at that a little bit, but that should be a-okay if we just shave off the top of this one And now the light and cross whatever contamination issues we had should be fixed because I learned my lesson and I didn't put lights in the floor block. But yeah, so we should be good, but we can't just go ahead and paste this in because we actually have to detail this deck. So I'm going to do a little bit, and I'll just kind of show you guys what we've got going so far. So I'm going to just spawn this in, and we can just kind of see. So I haven't fixed any of the issues with the other deck, and I will just do those once I put all three together, because I'm not going to waste my time fixing it and then just tear it all back apart again. But some of the stuff I'm planning with this deck is quite interesting. So obviously, if you couldn't tell, we have the two main engine rooms right here. So we have the forward engine room and the aft engine room with all four main diesel engines. And then below we have, this one's not very well detailed. Maybe this isn't either. But we have a few little kind of machines just dotted around on deck here, but below we have actual machine spaces. So if we come in here, all of these are laid out for where machines and stuff will be for obviously like freshwater generation, wastewater treatment, all sorts of stuff that I don't know what they do. Some storage, of course. These are right here. Here, I'll just go into photo mode. That might be easier. So these right here, what we're looking at, these are big tanks. So they all are specific tanks, and they are actually this shape. Don't worry, I'm not being weird. But they are like that. And then right here, we've got a battery room. So this is, I did send a screenshot of this in my Discord server. But this is a hybrid ship. So it reduces fuel consumption by about 20%. And that, of course, depends on the type of sailing you do. Obviously, like a hybrid car on a highway, you're not going to really feel that performance because you're just going to use the engine anyways. But when you're doing short kind of commuter driving and stop and going and stuff like that, it is pretty beneficial actually to be able to not have to start up a whole engine to meet a specific demand. You can just siphon from the batteries a little bit. So we have the bow battery room up here. And then there's another one further stern, which is actually way bigger, but we'll kind of look at that later. But if we pop up and move to the bow, right between the gym and the hotel stores, we do have an access down. And this is going to put us in just a room with some more hotel stores. And you can actually notice this hump in the floor. This is there in real life. And this is for our pressure relief tunnel right here. So this allows us to, when we are running those bow thrusters while underway, it helps relieve some of the pressure with the fluid, and it makes these way more effective while moving. Usually these are nice and good when you're going really slow, but they lose a lot of effectiveness when you're moving because various reasons that I don't even understand. All right, so Editor Pengu here. I wasn't exactly wrong with this, but I have some new information, so I'd like to explain it a little bit better. So it is actually called an anti-suction tunnel, and I've made a little diagram here just to explain what it does. But basically, just naturally moving with your thrusters, you're going to have these low pressure zones as water tries to fill into these tunnels. And that's okay because they're not doing anything, and obviously water is going to do its thing and move. But once you kick on one of these thrusters while you are moving, you vastly increase the low pressure on one side and the positive pressure on the other. And especially when you're moving, it can get low enough to where over here we can see that it is a thing called ventilation, where it will try and suck in air from above the waterline into the thruster. And that basically makes your thruster useless because the amount of mass that you're going to be expelling with that thruster with air instead of water is going to drop it significantly to where you're just spinning it and it's not good, doesn't do much. So what this anti-suction tunnel is going to do, which in our case it's located just aft of these two tunnel thrusters here, and that's just going to basically create a little bit of a pressure difference, and it's just enough to where water will come in one side and then come around and basically feed these thrusters with water instead of air, and that will just allow them to keep most of their function while underway, especially. You'll notice most ships don't usually have this because they don't usually need their thrusters when they're moving, but just for the specific case of this one, they did decide to add that. So that is kind of how that works there. And you can see here as well, we are feeding that water from the anti-suction tunnel here into the tunnel thruster, and that's just supplying it with water. So that's basically how that works. I just figured I'd explain a little bit better than how I did in that clip there. But that helps, and that is actually kind of just built into the floor in here, which is kind of funny. Whether you can see it in real life, if they have little floor plates where you can't actually see it, I don't know, but it's there. So we are going to kind of detail the void spaces on board the ship. So we do have double hulls, and what that means is I will actually just demonstrate it in here. Is these right here, these are big tanks, so I believe these are freshwater tanks. There's 3 of them, you can't really tell. But then this right here is the actual outer hull. So if we look, you can see that this is a big void space, and it also would go below as well. Oh, that one's actually, this is inaccurate, that's just flooded, but there would be a tank. And basically this void space means that if you puncture the hull, if you hit ice a little too hard or whatever, you can actually flood this void space and not either lose these tanks, like you need fresh water to live, so you won't just lose the availability to use all these tanks, nor will you flood them. So this area can flood independently of that. So let's say you need these to be empty to maintain your buoyancy, you can let this flood, drain these or whatever, and keep that buoyancy so you don't sink, hopefully. Not all ships have this. This one does because of its ice class and just kind of what it's used for. But this is kind of what one of those spaces detailed would look like. You can see we have the main hull ribs right here. We also have the girders coming along the ceiling going fore and aft. And then this one is a little bit better detailed. You can kind of see how we have the tanks lined up. So we've got some tanks here, then we have some pipe tunnels, we have more tanks, and then here we've got 3 big tanks. You can tell by this big separation here. So there's 3 tanks there, and then a little bit of just pipes coming through. Now, I hate to do research after I do a lot of work, but there wouldn't realistically be pipes running through this space. And before I get called out, I know, but they do make it look good. Otherwise, this would just be a very empty room. So I am going to leave them, even though I know technically they're not realistic. They would most likely go up and then run through the ceiling. Okay, I've got another little intermission for you on this topic here. So these would be called cofferdams. Specific parts of these voids would be called cofferdams, and so I've got a little diagram here to kind of explain why the pipes would be where they would be and what a realistic setup would look like compared to what I've done in Stormworks here, obviously. So looking at this setup, you can see we have this blue line running along. It's kind of wavy. That would be our water line, so that's showing that all of this stuff is located below the water line. Now, I'm not necessarily implying that your pipes would be at the water line, that just kind of happen to line up. They could be wherever, but they're usually just not below or next to the tanks. They're usually located above. And so looking at this setup, you can see currently the red pipes would be what our current setup is. We've got them kind of going between each tanks into these cofferdams right here. And now technically a cofferdam is different from a void space. So a cofferdam is separating 2 incompatible liquids from each other. A void space would be considered this one up here where it's only separating 1 liquid, which would be these tanks from maybe a deck above. So all of these down here would be considered cofferdams, and that is because they're for function. The voids are just kind of there to have extra space and whatnot. So currently we have these red pipes where they're running inside the cofferdam and then up to wherever they need to be or whatever. They would be running up and through this purple line, which is called the tank top. So this is actually another watertight bulkhead per se, and that stops fluid from going between it basically unless it's through this pipe. So that allows you to have leaks within this pipe system here, and that's not going to trigger any sensors in these lower systems. And of course this little void space here, this would be able to be maintained, assuming that this right here is a floor into another deck, maybe crew spaces. You could have hatches to open and access here and fix leaks or whatnot. For these down here though, these are very hard to maintain. They're usually sealed shut. You can't breathe in these spaces and stuff like that, so you don't really want to go in here. You only really go in there for regular inspections and stuff like that. The reason there's no pipes in here is obviously so if they leak, you know that there's only 2 scenarios that could be happening in these cofferdams. So we're taking that these red boxes are sensors, which would be detecting fluid leaks. If this sensor trips, you know that either this tank or this tank has been punctured and you have fluid in there, because you don't have pipes that could be leaking, and that goes for all of these. So if this one gets detected, you know either the hull has been breached or this tank is leaking. And same for the bottom. This one would be a double bottom. So technically it is a cofferdam, but it's just got a little bit of a different name. And that just means that either your hull or one of these tanks has been breached. Now you'll notice this, let's say this is kind of like a front cutout or a front cross section. We're looking at the width of the ship here. And so this setup right here, this would be a double hulled ship. This is almost what we would have going on board our ship in Stormworks here. We've got these cofferdams on either side of the ship here. And then we also have them on the bottom. So that means there's double redundancy if the hull were to be breached in any of these spots before you access, of course, your pipes, potentially if there's another one here, and also before you breach your tanks. So looking at this quick example here, you can see that there's, of course, rules and exceptions to which fluids can border each other, and those will be governed by SOLAS, Safety of Life at Sea, and a few other organizations as well. But if we look in the middle here, we have fresh water, and then we have fuel, oil, and ballast water. And ballast water is okay to border the hull just because it's already seawater. Fuel needs a void between it and the ocean, just because you don't want fuel spilling out into the ocean, because then you have big contamination issues and a whole problem there. And then of course freshwater is not regulated to be, but in at least our scenario on board, it is protected on all sides, just because if you lose all your fresh water, then you probably wouldn't survive that anyways. So it's kind of juggling between protecting the environment, protecting your ship, and protecting the lives on board. And so these are all thought out by engineers and smart people who know what they're doing to basically risk manage losing what. And ultimately you don't want to lose anything, but you have to be accepting and basically knowing if you're going to lose anywhere on the hull, you can make it out and you'll be okay with that. Because again, this space has to be able to flood and be open to the sea, so you don't do any good if you're risking just puncturing your pipes anyways. Then you lose all your redundancy just like that. So I know, tell me in the comments, or tell me I'm right. That might make me feel good too. But yeah, so this is the void space. We have a bunch of these on board. I might not detail all of them. And I also don't know if all of them are necessarily accessible. Obviously, in real life, they're usually accessible through a manhole, which you have to physically drill off. And you have to wear breathing apparatuses and like monitor oxygen levels, because they aren't, oh, what's the word? They don't have HVAC or air circulation built into them, because they're meant to just be voided and left empty. So that's another reason why pipes usually aren't in there. Pipes are meant to be maintained and fixed. So if they're in a space where you can't regularly access them, if there's a leak or something, kind of defeats the purpose. So we do have those, and we will pop forward a little bit more, and we have another stairway coming down here. And I have not moved the deck plans down, I realize. But these are all machines as well in here, and we do have a tank in here, which is kind of funny shaped because we have an elevator right here, so we kind of have to be able to go around that. An emergency exit right here. I do believe that the only things that are necessarily double hulled are the tanks. I'll have to double check the plans and do some more research, but rooms like this might not be double hulled because you've got redundancies elsewhere. So for example, that forward hotel store where we saw the hump for that pressure relief tunnel, that doesn't need a double hull because that's just storage. We don't really care if we lose that. Obviously you'll lose some buoyancy, but I don't care if the towels get flooded, you know? Prefer to have fuel not leak everywhere into the ocean. So we are back here, and you'll see the floor's kind of coming up a little bit, and if we pop in here, you can kind of tell it keeps going up as well. Right here we have that elevator shaft I was talking about. This is actually just the maintenance floor for that, so elevator doesn't stop down here, but it has maintenance. This is just some other machinery in here. And then if we go back, we have the second battery room. Now this one is not done. but you can see we've got some lines of batteries, and we have another line. So this is a bigger one, of course, emergency exit. You got to be safe. And this area does have double hulling just because it is a battery room. You don't want those to blow up. So if you look under, you can see we do have a void space under. And then we've got tanks on the side here as well, which are also double hulled around on the sides and the bottom. Now this is one of those that might not be accessible just because you genuinely can't walk in this much space anyways. So I might not detail that one just for performance. But of course I'll have versions that don't have that detailed anyways. But just, you know, if you want to go full depth and blow up your computer, you do have that option too. So yeah, that is pretty much what's going on down here. I don't think I missed a whole lot. We go forward, we have the engine rooms which come down to this level. I think we covered all of this. We do have, technically, we do have a floor below. So I guess we could take a look at that, and I am actually going to move the vehicle for that. Now, while I do this, if you do like this kind of content, do let me know. Maybe I'll do more, less professional, less tour videos, and more just me working on stuff so you guys can see what's happening. But with this lifted, ignoring the azipods that just fell out of the hull, we do have sea chests. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically the isolated input where all the seawater comes in for various systems that need it on board. But little boats, you'll commonly find a bunch of through holes and seacocks to just close them. I'll put a picture on screen. But on big ships like this, especially where you need a bunch of water coming in, it's best to have that all isolated in a few spots. So worst case, you can kind of close all those valves in one spot and hopefully be okay. So these two right here, these are two sea chests. This is kind of what they look like from the exterior. Now the azipods would be hanging right here. And so these are actually the cooling for the azipods. So you can kind of come in here and see that these right here are pump rooms. And then these are the azipod propulsion rooms. So you can see each one kind of has their own pump and their own isolated system for redundancies and whatnot, but that is for cooling of those systems there. If we kind of move forward, you can see we have another one right here. Now these are all ice sea chests on the bottom, so they can basically withstand ice. They've got extra protection so they won't clog and it won't damage it if you suck in ice, which of course is good. Did I miss one? No, I think we're good. We have another one right here. Now these two... Ooh, I might be wrong. No, yeah, I'm right. Okay. These two are for the main engines and whatever else might be there, but primarily I'd assume for the main engines. So this one kind of comes around and then in, and then you're in the aft engine room. This one does the same, so the piping works kind of like that, and then you're in that engine room. And then there are those fin stabilizers as well. Now here we have a high suction sea chest, and if you know, please tell me, but genuinely, I'm kind of confused on what the difference is. Obviously, this one is on the side of the hull, so if you are in shallow water, you can continue to take in water, not just eat sand, I guess. I don't really know, but I don't know what the difference between high suction and just the ones on the bottom are, but I don't know. If you know, let me know. Otherwise, I can just figure it out later, or it's not even important. But we have another sea chest here for the machine rooms. So if we pop up, we have this room, which I'd assume is doing some water filtration or whatnot, because we do have a bunch of tanks just forward of it as well with those fresh water, and I do believe that is the last of our sea chests. So kind of an interesting thing. Usually those aren't detailed, but I figured might as well if I'm down here putting in all that work. And you can see that they do go very high. These actually run all the way up to the ceiling of this deck here, which is out of the water actually. And that is just for kind of security with motion of the boat. You don't accidentally start getting air in your pipes. So this tank will fill up all the way, but all of your inputs, all the pipes would actually be down here. And that's so if the pressure drops, you kind of lose water from up here and not down here, and then you start sucking in air and obviously that'll be a very bad day. And I do have a bunch of tanks down here detailed. You can kind of see, I'm just kind of going through a bunch of spaces down here. I could show you a top down if I remember. But yeah, so these might not be detailed. Here's a sea chest. It just kind of sticks up through. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've got going on here. I need to detail all of this probably before I paste it in with that other deck. Maybe I'll finish some of these spaces. Probably not today though. That might be the next video. Just because I honestly don't have inspiration or, you know what any of this stuff is yet. So I've obviously got to do my research on my side. Now in this time lapse, I'm just cleaning up some final things and then sticking our cutout of deck 1 onto the bottom of decks 2 and 3 so that we have one cohesive, almost finished block of those 3 decks together. Okay, well, that was a decent bit of work. Takes quite a lot longer at lower frame rate, obviously, because it's very delayed. But if we go ahead and just spawn this in really quick, we should get a nice vehicle that most of the previous issues were gone, at least the major ones. Of course, the lower deck still is unfinished. I noticed there might be some light logic which got disconnected, which is going to be really, really unfortunate to have to go through and fix, but that is just a sacrifice you have to make sometimes. So I'm just going to kind of do a walkthrough. I'll turn these lights back on. You can see we have the top stair now. So this stair has to be unmerged from the main body so that this door can still seal. So that's like that. And then of course we can keep going down. But let's see. If we ignore those winches for a moment, I think these lights... Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit annoying if this entire deck needs to be re-lit up, but that's okay. Do what you gotta do, I guess. And the floor paint issues should be all fixed. I might keep finding some here and there, but that's okay. In here, let's see, we can come down this hallway. These stairs look good. See, these lights work. Okay, maybe it was just the front. That's making me really happy, actually. And then, oh, I didn't go to this one. This one is a little bit steeper. I don't exactly know why. But all the lights in here work. The crew day room. Lights work in here. Yeah, okay. Very, very strange how some of the lights stayed and some didn't. Maybe they were previously broken and I just hadn't noticed. That's very possible. Emergency exits work, of course. Love to see that. Come back here. So the elevators are going to be interesting to figure out how to get them to work. This staircase should work in here. Nice and smooth, nice and big too. One of the main staircases on board. Then we can head down another deck as well. So this one actually links up straight to the guest forward staircase. So after this deck, you'll see the style changes. We get the nice railings and stuff, as well as if you see the painting, when you come up here, we get the carpet, and so this is actually visible to the guests right here. And there's a little bit of like a kind of like a gate, which you need crew ID, or like a door that you need crew ID to get through. So this is technically the same staircase and their elevator as well, which the guests can use here. It does go down to this deck. And yes, it goes down to this deck as well. So you can see it just kind of keeps going. We will continue our way forward, and we will go this way, and then through here, and this will put us in the crew cabin corridor. This will put us in the crew stair corridor. So more fixed of those. Some blocks, might have to look at those, but most of the cabins should still be good. If we pop in these, they're all detailed up nice. Good. So I just need to fix watertight doors mostly. And of course painting. You'll notice that there's another shade of brown. But up here, I changed the shade. Maybe I didn't. Am I hallucinating? I might be hallucinating. I can't remember if I made it lighter or darker, but we can just keep coming down these stairs, keep getting put in here, and now I need to paint these. The stairs are kind of hard to paint between decks because it just won't line up. No matter what you do, you'll have to repaint it anyway, so that's why if you look down these, especially this one, you can see that it just detail and then nothing. So I'm just going to kind of go through there and paint those after the fact now. And if I have space, I will add a railing hole like this one that is going up as well. But yeah, you can see same here, just kind of cuts off. This one's detailed because we detailed this, and this is kind of like an independent staircase. It's not really connected to any walls. I believe that is it for the crew stairs. We might have some... Yeah, no, we should be... That should be it for the crew stairs. But these should all work. We pop through this door, which is broken, and hit the lights. I do want to test the things in here. So, lights. Okay, we need lights in here. That's noted. This door seems to be working because it's broken. So if I open the door, that just means it has logic. If we go up with this system here, just enough, and then we can go out. There we go, the door is working. So it just kind of gets stuck. That's a thing that I fixed, but I guess this controller doesn't have that fix in there. And then what height are we at? 3.85, 3.85. And then we can do auto mode, and that will not work. Oh, I wonder if we don't have the sensor in. Interesting. That sensor's still broken. Okay. Certainly something to look at. Yeah, no, that's definitely kaput. That's okay. The door, however, should work. If we do that, you can see it will close. Beautiful, just like that. And then we will align this. Oh, and I did want to see if I pop down here, how's this looking? So, good, we've got the bilge pump. We've got the watertight door there, and that is coming into this room. So once this door is hooked up, because all the pipe or pivots for that logic are gone. Once that is hooked up, you can use this to lower stuff to that deck. Door has closed up nicely. Let me just do that, and then we can turn off hydraulics. That should lock into place. There it goes, beautiful. Another thing is this door. This door shouldn't really have been affected, but we can just double check it here. We can do crane, and that seems to be working. We'll pull that in, and then we will close the door. Hopefully it doesn't get stuck. Sometimes it does. Beautiful. Alright, didn't even get stuck that time. Sweet. And then propulsion rooms should be good still. This, I think, is now independent because it's not on a pivot. Yeah, so that wiggles around. So what I've done is I've removed the velocity pivot, which is in here, and that will mean when I paste this in to the new version, that pivot will still be all hooked up to logic way up in the bridge, and I won't have to redo any of that. So that is intentional. Does this door work? Oh, look at that. What a steal. And here is... Okay, so we've got some blue. This is the pump room, and I believe right below this, or just to the right, we've got those sea chests for cooling these azapods, which we mentioned earlier. So all the PMS and stuff in here needs to be cooled, and that is why each of these are independent. Lights in here. This all looks good to me. Sweet. All right. We can head out here. Now, one thing I've been kind of curious about is if the seals, and I honestly have no hope for it. So that'll probably be unfortunate. This door might work too. Yeah, look at that. So some of these doors I did fix, and then I think actually all the doors on this floor right here work, but all the ones lower need to be fixed. We can fact check that by going to this door over here. This one didn't look promising. No, okay. That definitely... yeah, that's not going to work for us. That's okay. We can fix that nice and easy. SOPEP equipment, forklift, all this stuff is in here. So then I just have a bunch of little controllers that I've got to put away. I might have forgotten this staircase. Yep, I did. That's unfortunate. But this one will take you down into the unpacking area and stuff right here, as well as the office for the provisions manager. She's down there. And that, I think, wraps it up. I'm going to check these all. These should all be good. Yeah, that looks fine. These don't have lights in them, but that's probably okay. Garbage treatment. Yeah, okay. So we're looking good on this deck. That's making me happy. I'm just going to do... I could do a thorough walkthrough of the lower deck, or I could just kind of leave it at that and keep fixing issues. So I might do that. Looking at this, if you see, this is our sea chest, and that is the floor level for the deck right here. If we look, you can see this is the floor, and so that one got pasted and removed all the paint. So the sea chests I will have to look at. I do believe, yeah, okay, so they all need paint. That's okay. If we come over to a more forward sea chest. There should be one right here. This one is looking good, but then we do need to paint this as well, which is just the top of the sea chest here. And then if we come over into the engine control room, this box right here is also a sea chest. This one, yeah, needs some work as well. That's okay. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. All of our markings are still looking good. Those are good. We've got a little bit of paint to just touch up on there. Got our load lines. Of course, our stabilizers. Load lines again, and then those right there. The azipods. Sweet. Okay. Not bad, actually. Not bad at all. I'm actually happy with where we left off here. So, I will go edit this, post it probably, and then I'll maybe fix some of the doors, and we'll get another video just doing kind of a final walkthrough of these spaces. Maybe a little bit more professional, maybe not, who knows. But thank you so much for watching. We got a lot of good progress going today. So yeah, I hope you join me back next time, whenever that may be. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. See ya.